Hello, my children. Mama, mama, mama. Yes, yes, my children, here they come. You can't fight me. I have the biggest lens. Your big lens will do you no good. There are so many of us. And I have a full-size lens too, you forget.
Truce?
I have only a tiny lens, but I will stand by your side.
Let's do this. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. I got cameras. I got more freaking cameras. I've got the Caddx cameras, 3 different Caddx cameras. I've got the Micro Predator. I've got the Micro Eagle. And you know what? I've just decided there's too many cameras out there. I can't. Oscar Leung, I don't know how you do it, buddy. I know how he does it. He just has to make like one web page for each camera, like 5 paragraphs or something. And that's great. I'm not trying to put him down, but I got to do like a 40-minute video for. Well, I don't have to do a 40-minute video. I have a problem. Moving on. I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to give you the results. I'm just going to sum everything up in like a 5 to 8 minute video that you can just watch and decide what you want to buy and then go buy it. And if you don't even want that, there's a link down in the video description with a spreadsheet and a web page you can go to where you can just look. I've got like as many of the cameras on the market as I can think of. I put them all the specs in a spreadsheet just to help you decide. And yeah, no, I've got another video I'm going to put out with the 40-minute long, all the details, all the raw footage, all the talking. For those of you who also like that stuff too, yeah, don't worry. We're going to get that too. Stay tuned. As promised, I'm going to tell you my conclusions about these cameras right now. And then I'm going to end the video and I'm going to post another video with like 40 minutes of me going through all the settings and back and forth, comparing the images side by side. And a lot of you are going to go watch that one. But I know I just find myself, I want to help you guys make good buying decisions that'll make you happy. And putting up a 40-minute long video that many of you won't go through is not the way to do that. So here's how it breaks down. Let's start with the Runcam Micro Eagle. The Micro Eagle can be summed up like this. If you really like the Eagle 2 or the Eagle Pro V2, but you want a smaller version of it, then this is the camera for you. The image quality is very, very similar to those cameras, including the digital noise artifacting that many people hate, but that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. One of the nice things that this camera does bring that no previous Eagle has had is the ability to adjust the level of the wide dynamic range algorithm. So I've commented that the Eagle tends to have a little bit of a washed out image compared to the Predator, but the Eagle has a better wide dynamic range. You get more shadow detail and better highlight detail, and that's sort of inherent. High dynamic range and low contrast, they kind of go together. You can't have one without the other. So it's nice that the Eagle Micro gives you the option to sort of tune that. You can either have a more contrasty image but give up shadow detail, or you can have the traditional Eagle image, which is very low contrast but with lots and lots of shadow and highlight detail. You can decide. You can see that the camera has something that no micro-sized camera has had before it, and that is a full-size lens. And frankly, I've been impressed with the image quality of micro cameras, even with their tiny little plastic lenses. They do a really good job. But obviously, it's just got to be better. It's got a full-size glass lens, so surely it's better. And you can go take a look at the raw footage video, which I'm going to post separately, and you can see if you agree or disagree with that. It does mean that the camera is heavier, though. It's a few grams heavier than other micro cameras with the smaller lenses. And again, it's up to you if you feel like that. You know, many of the cameras in this roundup are micro cameras. Don't let that fool you into thinking that they're only applicable to people building, 2-inch, 3-inch quadcopters. Many people are putting micro cameras on full-size quads just to save weight and save size. And with the image performance that they're getting, there's really no reason not to. The only complication is that you oftentimes need some kind of a 3D printed mount in order to mount them optimally. They do come with mounting accessories sometimes to help you mount them. But if the mounting accessory is this, I mean, surely, no, that's not. Who wants that in this little steel bracket in this day and age? No, that's not what we want. That's not. So you do want to figure out a way you're going to mount it, but just you can absolutely consider using micro cameras, and many people are, even on full-size builds. Another gotcha with the Micro Eagle is that, like the Eagle Pro V2, it has a native 16:9 widescreen aspect ratio sensor, which means that if you choose to use it in 4:3 mode, then you will go from a 170 degree field of view in 16:9 down to a 140 degree field of view in 4:3. It basically just chops off the sides of the image. 140 degree field of view is absolutely flyable. In fact, if you go back not too long ago, many of us were flying on that field of view, but I find that I prefer the wider 170 degree field of view, and I prefer you could always try to put a wider angle lens on this, but you saw what happened when I tried that with the Eagle Pro. The lens I chose, at least, didn't work out well. The Eagle Micro is $45, so it's one of the more expensive cameras in here, but I gotta say, to me at least, it's got the best looking image as well. And the ability to adjust the wide dynamic range to get it exactly where you want it just makes it all the better. This is the Caddx Turbo S1 and the Turbo Micro S1. Basically the same camera, just this is the micro form factor and this is the mini form factor. If you're going to use the mini form factor camera, the Turbo S1, then you're going to need to use a plastic cradle that comes with it, and that brings it up to the size and matches the bolt pattern of a full-size camera that many frames are expecting. It'd be nice to see more frames coming pre-made to fit these mini-sized cameras since they're getting so popular, but that's as it may be. These cameras are both CCD sensors, so they have the traditional image like the Runcam Swift or the 1177 or any of those older cameras. And for those of you who really hate the CMOS looking image, many of the problems with CMOS images have been fixed. The dynamic range, the rolling shutter, the jello effect. Modern CMOS cameras just don't have these problems anymore for the most part. But many people still don't like the CMOS style image. And if you're looking for a CCD camera, these guys are not bad. In fact, I feel like both of these guys are on par or maybe even beat the Runcam Swift or the Swift Micro. I definitely think that the F1 Micro or the S1 Micro S1 beats the Swift Micro. I looked back at some of my review footage and I compared it. It's possible you could tweak the settings to get them closer, but I feel like the default settings at least are better. And the S1 is definitely a little bit, just a hair better than the Micro even, maybe due to the better lens or who knows. Both of these guys have a built-in on-screen display, so if you happen to be flying a flight controller that doesn't have an OSD, and those are more and more rare these days, but if you're one of those people, then you can get voltage monitoring and a simple timer using just the camera without having to do anything special. These cameras come in at $30, and I think at that price point, they're a really solid choice. I'm still not 100% sure whether I would go with the Swift V2 versus the Turbo S1, but in the micro size, I definitely would pick the Micro S1 over the Micro Swift or the Micro Aero. This is the Turbo Micro F1, and it looks pretty much like all the others. Ooh, colorful, but it doesn't look that different. Where this camera fits into the lineup is that it's only like $20. And it's a pretty decent camera for $20. In fact, I can't think of another $20 camera that I would even think about buying. In fact, when I made my Ultimate FPV shopping list website, which has all kinds of product recommendations in every category for FPV, the cheapest camera worth buying, that's a category I break out, cheapest worth buying in each category, it was the Swift. And it was like $30. And I said, you might be surprised that the cheapest worth having is this expensive, but all the cheaper cameras are just not worth having. So I guess I got to go update the website because this is totally worth having for $20. It's not like it knock your socks off good, but it's not bad. It's a CMOS image. but it doesn't have any of the digital artifacting or anything. It's advertised as having really low latency, although I can't find anybody who's done any objective testing on it to verify that. It is a 4.3 camera, and it does not have any built-in on-screen display or anything like that. So very bare bones, but a decent image, and at a price of $20, I can't think of anything that's going to do as good or better. So if you're very, very budget conscious, consider this camera. This is the Turbo Micro SDR1. And at a price of $35, it is the most expensive Caddx camera in this lineup, and it is the most sort of feature-rich. It's got a Sony Exmor CMOS sensor, and I did some Googling, and basically that's just a really good sensor. One of the things it's got going for it is high resolution at 1200 TV lines and very, very good light sensitivity. Although I will say, I don't have raw video to show you, but I tested these at night, and it's supposed to be a starlight camera, and it is better than like the CMOS cameras or even the Predator, or CCD cameras or even the Predator, but the Eagle still beats it in terms of low light sensitivity, at least in my testing. So it's a very good sensor. It's 16:9 and 4:3 switchable. However, like the Eagle, it is a native widescreen sensor. So if you go to 4.3, you'll get the narrower field of view. So that's the choice you make. It has 37 millisecond latency on average, which is not spectacular. For some people, that'll rule it out. But I don't think that's the end of the world. Many people will fly on that and not really notice it. It doesn't have any built-in OSD or anything like that. So you're gonna need your own OSD if you want that. Finally, here is the Predator Micro from Foxeer, and much like the Eagle, which was basically just a tiny version of its larger self, this performs very, very similarly to the larger Predator, including you may remember there was like a blue cast to the Predator's image, and I kind of played with the brightness a little bit to try and get it out in the saturation. The exact same thing happened with this camera. Objectively, we have to expect that the image is going to be a little bit worse because it's got the smaller lens than the full size, than the mini one, but you'd really need a side-by-side comparison to tell the difference. The features and other things are basically the same. It's a 4.3 camera. It does have a built-in OSD, so it's got voltage sensing on the OSD if you want it. It's got a 150-degree field of view with its stock 1.8 millimeter lens, and it costs $37. So let me really boil it down for you. And talk about not just the cameras in this roundup, but all the cameras I've reviewed so far. And I want to remind you, I've got a web page up, link in the video description, with a spreadsheet, links to all these products, not just these products in this roundup, but all the products I've reviewed, and a spreadsheet. You know how I do those spreadsheets where I take all the flight controllers I can think of, and I just put all their specs on a spreadsheet so you can kind of dig in and compare? Well, I've done that for these cameras. So if you want to, go check that out. But here's how I would boil it down. If you want a traditional CCD image and money is no object, then buy the Rotor Riot Runcam Swift V2. It has the absolute best CCD image that I've seen to date, and it has an amazingly fast and capable exposure algorithm. It's a really, really good camera, but it's like $45. If you want a more budget option, I think the Turbo Micro S1 or the Turbo S1 are decent choices at $30, with the caveat that the S1 has a relatively narrow 130-degree field of view on its stock lens. So some of you might want to rule that out. If you want the absolute budget option, as I said, the Turbo F1 at $20 will get you there. You are going to need to find a way to mount it on your frame because it's a micro camera, so you might need to find a friend with a 3D printer to print you some kind of bracket. Or, yeah, you can use this little thing if you want to. It's not the end of the world. In the CMOS world, I still think I would take the Eagle or the Eagle Micro at around $45 over the SDR1. I just really like the way those cameras are. And the Eagle Micro with its adjustable wide dynamic range gives you the ability to tune it even more. But the SDR1 has a pretty good image and is about $10 cheaper than those cameras, so you certainly could get it. But personally, I would take, for people with 4.3 goggles and 4.3 cameras, I would take the Eagle V2 because it has a native 4.3 sensor, and so you'll get a wide field of view even in 4.3 mode. For people with 16:9 goggles, like Sky Zones or Fat Shark Dom V3. If you have 16:9 goggles and 16:9 cameras, then you could get the Eagle Micro or the Eagle Pro V2 if you wanted a full-size camera. Both of those will do very well. If you want a CMOS camera but you hate the digital artifacting of the Eagles, then the Predator or the Predator Micro is an okay choice. But I've actually found the Predator and the Predator Micro to not do such a good job with, like, wide dynamic range is what you want out of a CMOS camera, and they all advertise it. But I found that the Predator doesn't do as good a job as I would like at showing shadow detail under some lighting conditions, and I've kind of come to like it less as I've been flying it on one of my quads. So there you go. That hopefully sums it up. There's a link to a page with product links down in the video description. If this information has helped you out, please remember, one way you can help me out is by clicking on any of my affiliate links before you make a purchase, not just of these products, but of any product from any of the sites. The way it works is when you click the link, they call it a cookie, gets set on your computer. And if you make any purchase while the cookie is set, I get credit for it. So whatever you're going to buy, you can click one of those affiliate links. And if I help you out with my reviews, help you make good buying decisions, maybe help save you from buying the wrong product, you can help me out just by clicking one of those links, and certainly would appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Again, a reminder, I'm going to post the 40-minute long raw footage with all the digging in to show you. Where's the actual footage, Joshua? You just told us about the cameras. Yeah, well, I'm trying to save you guys who don't want to watch it all a little time. I know. Now you're going to go in the comments and be like, oh, no, we love it. We want to see it. I know. I'm going to give it to you. That's coming. But for now, then we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy flying.